Greetings, Magic players. This is Steve from Untapped Games, and we're going to go through the next Commander deck, Peer Through Time. It's blue, and it has Teferi, who I remember when I was a kid, and I played Mirage, and he was in the flavor text. So, let me see if I can get this open without embarrassing myself. Yeah. So I'm going to guess that there is a time component to this deck, which indicates probably that I'll be taking extra turns. We'll see whether that pans out. Spoiler alert, I'm pretty sure it does pan out. I'm going to leave him in there because I don't want to bend him. This is like really good packaging on the one hand because it's not going to go anywhere during shipping. But then on the other hand, it's like, there we go. Okay, so that's going to be Teferi, Temporal Archmage, and here's my deck. So he creates emblems, as you can see on the top here. Okay, so Teferi emblem. You may activate loyalty abilities of planeswalkers you control on any player's turn anytime you could cast an instant. That's really cool. So he would be actually good in kind of like a Super Friends deck. Fish. When this creature dies, put a 6/6. So this is a token creature, but it comes with an ability. Put a 6/6 blue whale creature token onto the battlefield with. When this creature dies, put a 9/9 blue kraken creature token onto the battlefield. That's really cool. It's like there's always a bigger fish, and a blue zombie with a variable power toughness. Here's the whale that goes with that fish. Another blue zombie. Here's the kraken that goes for that whale. And another blue zombie. Another fish with a zombie. Another whale with a zombie. Another kraken with a zombie. I also have apes in here. They're 3/3. And another zombie. Another one. And another one. So here's my islands. And I don't know what the theme is there with the art, but I really like this one. Alright. See if I can organize these a little bit better. Sorry for hitting my camera repeatedly. Teferi, Temporal Archmage, 4 and 2 blue for a planeswalker. +1 ability, look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand and the other on the bottom of your library. So it's searching ability. -1 ability, untap up to 4 target permanents. That's pretty good. And -10 ability, you get an emblem with you may activate loyalty abilities to planeswalkers you control on any player's turn anytime you cast an instant. We already know that. And he can be your commander. Stitcher Geralf from Innistrad. 3 and 2 blue. He's from Innistrad, but this is a new card. So the character is old, but the card is new. Legendary creature, human wizard. So he could also be your commander. 2 and a blue. Tap. Each player puts the top 3 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Exile up to 2 creature cards put into graveyards this way. Put an XX blue zombie creature token onto the battlefield where X is the total power of the cards exiled this way. That's pretty cool. Lorthos, the Tidemaker. That's a pretty intense name. 5 and 3 blue for a legendary creature octopus. He could also be your commander. Whenever Lorthos, the Tidemaker attacks, you may pay 8 colorless. If you do, tap up to 8 target permanents. Those permanents don't untap during their controller's next untap steps. And he's an 8/8. Dulcet Sirens, 2 and a blue for a siren. Blue and tap, target creature attacks target opponent this turn if able. That's really cool. And it's a morph blue, and it's a 1/3. Reefworm, 3 and a blue, worm, 0/1. When Reefworm dies, put a 3/3 blue fish creature token. Oh, so this is even more to the life cycle of, of that token there. When this creature dies, put a 6/6 blue whale creature token on the battlefield. When this creature dies, put a 9/9 blue kraken creature token. I really like that. Like the concept of that is really satisfying. Ixodron, 3 and 2 blue. For an illusion, as Ixodron enters the battlefield, turn all other non-token creatures face down. Ixodron's power and toughness are each equal to the number of face-down creatures on the battlefield. Storm Surge Kraken. 3 and 2 blue for a Kraken with hexproof. It's 5/5. This is my lieutenant card for this deck. As long as you control your commander, Storm Surge Kraken gets +2/+2 and has whenever Storm Surge Kraken becomes blocked, you may draw 2 cards. It's pretty powerful. Frost Titan, 4 and 2 blue. For a giant, whenever Frost Titan becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter that spell or ability unless its controller pays 2. Frost Titan enters the battlefield or attacks, tap target permanent. It doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. And it's 6/6. Sphinx of Jwar Island, or Isle rather, 4 and 2 blue. For a flying Sphinx with Shroud. That's like hexproof, except you can't target it either. You may look at the top card of your library. You may do this at any time, and it's a 5/5. Sphinx of the Magassi, 3 and 3 blue for a 6/6 Sphinx with flying. 2 and a blue, draw a card, then put a +1/+1 counter on Sphinx of Magassi. That's cool. Phyrexian Ingester, 6 and a blue for a beast. Imprint, when Phyrexian Ingester enters the battlefield, you may exile target non-token creature. Oh, that's cool. A Phyrexian Ingester gets +X/+Y, where X is the exiled creature's power and Y is its toughness, and it's 3/3. That's nuts. Because it just gets that from now on, and it's removal. That's really cool. Sphinx of Uthun, 5 and 2 blue, for a 5/6 Sphinx with flying. When Sphinx of Uthun enters the battlefield, reveal the top 5 cards of your library. An opponent separates those cards into 2 piles. Put one pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. Hoverguard Sweepers, 6 and 2 blue for a drone with flying, 5/6. When Hoverguard Sweepers enters the battlefield, you may return up to 2 target creatures to their owner's hands. Breaching Leviathan, 7 and 2 blue for a Leviathan that's 9/9. When Breaching Leviathan enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, tap all non-blue creatures. Those creatures don't untap during their controller's next untap steps. This deck seems to, so maybe it's not about gaining extra turns. It seems to be more about tapping everything down and just gaining tempo advantage that way. Deep Sea Kraken, 7 and 3 blue for a Kraken. Deep Sea Kraken can't be blocked. It's suspend 9 for 2 and a blue, so you can cast it for 2 and a blue and exile it with 9 time counters on it, and then you get to remove one of those at the beginning of each of your upkeeps. Whenever an opponent casts, and then when it has 0 time counters on it, you just cast it without paying its mana cost, and it has haste. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, if Deep Sea Kraken is suspended, remove a time counter from it. So it's even faster than that. Infinite Reflection, 5 and a blue. Enchant creature. When Infinite Reflection enters the battlefield attached to a creature, each other non-token creature you control becomes a copy of that creature. Non-token creatures you control enters the battlefield as a copy of enchanted creature. That's crazy. Well of Ideas, 5 and a blue, enchantment. When Well of Ideas enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards. At the beginning of each other player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. At the beginning of your draw step, draw 2 additional cards. That's cool. Cyclonic Rift, of course, 1 and a blue, returns target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand, or you can overload it and replace all instances of target with each for 6 and a blue. Cackling Counterpart, 1 and 2 blue. Put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of target creature you control, and you can flash back for 5 and 2 blue. Domineering Will, 3 and a blue. Target player gains control of up to 3 target non-attacking creatures until end of turn. Untap those creatures, they block this turn if able. I think that's probably a new one. I don't know. It's similar to another Domineering type card. Intellectual Offering, 4 and a blue. Choose an opponent. You and that player each draw 3 cards. Choose an opponent. Untap all non-land permanents you control and all non-land permanents that player controls. Stroke of Genius, X and 2 colorless and a blue. Target player draws X cards. Right of Replication, 2 and a blue. Kicker 5. Put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of target creature. If Right of Replication was kicked, put 5 of those tokens onto the battlefield instead. So that could be like a blowout. Crazy card. Aether Gale, 3 and 2 blue, sorcery, return 6 target non-land permanents to their owner's hands. Distorting Wake, X and 3 blue, return X target non-land permanents to their owner's hand. Getting that tempo advantage. Steel Hellkite, 6 colorless, artifact creature dragon with flying. 2 colorless, Steel Hellkite gets +1/+0 until end of turn. X, destroy each non-land permanent with converted mana cost X whose controller was dealt combat damage by Steel Hellkite this turn. Activate this ability only once each turn. Sapphire Medallion, blue spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Crown of Doom, 3 colorless. Whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Target creature for 2. Target creature other than Crown of Doom's owner gains control of it. Activate this ability only during your turn. Nevinyrral's Disc for 4. Nevi's Disc enters the battlefield tapped. 1 and tap. Destroy all artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. Coral Atoll. Coral Atoll enters the battlefield tapped. When Coral Atoll enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless you return its untapped island you control to its owner's hand. Tap to add 1 and a blue to your mana pool. Ghost Quarter. Tap to add 1. Sacrifice to destroy target land. Its controller searches its library for a basic land, puts it on the battlefield, then shuffles. Lonely Sandbar. Blue cycling land. So tap to add blue, enters the battlefield tapped, and cycle for blue. Myriad Landscape. Myriad Landscape enters the battlefield tapped. Tapped for 1, 2 and tap. Sacrifice it. Search a card for up to 2 basic land cards that share a land type. Put them on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. Remote Isle enters the battlefield tapped. Tap for blue. Cycling 2 colorless. Tectonic Edge. Tap for 1. 1 tap. Sacrifice it. Destroy target non-basic land. Activate this ability only if an opponent controls 4 or more lands. Zoetic Cavern. Tap for 1. And it's got a morph cost of 2, so you can play it as a creature. Azure Mage. 1 and a blue. 3 and a blue. Draw a card, and it's a 2/1 human wizard. Fathom Seer, 1 and a blue, morph, return 2 islands you control to their owner's hand, and when Fathom Seer is turned face up, draw 2 cards. Fogbank, 1 and a blue, defender flying, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to and dealt by Fogbank, and it's a 0/2. Willbender, 1 and a blue, morph for 1 and a blue. You may cast this card face down as a 2/2 creature for 3 mana. Sorry, you know what morph is probably. When Willbender is turned face up, change the target of target spell or ability with a single target. 1 and 2. 1 power, 2 toughness. Riptide Survivor, 2 and a blue. Human Wizard, that's a 2/1, and you can morph it for 1 and 2 blue. When Riptide Survivor is turned face up, discard 2 cards, then draw 3 cards. Seagate Oracle, 2 and a blue. For a human creature, that's 1/3. When Seagate Oracle enters the battlefield, look at up to 2 cards of your library. Look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put 1 of them into your hand and the other on the bottom of your library. Shaper Parasite, 1 and 2 blue, morph for 2 and a blue. When Shaper Parasite is turned face up, target creature gets +2/-2 or -2/+2 until end of turn. It's 2/3. Ooh, Muldrifter. 4 and a blue, flying. When Muldrifter enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards. Evoke for 2 and a blue, which means that you can cast it as a spell for its evoke cost, and it's sacrificed when it enters the battlefield. And it's a 2/2 creature. That's a good card. It's a lot of these cards are in here because it's tough to get them for other formats where they're necessary, and Muldrifter is played in other formats. I believe it's played in Modern. Brine Elemental, 4 and 2 blue. Morph is a 5. Morph for 5 and 2 blue. When Brine Elemental is turned face up, each opponent skips his or her untap step. And it's a 5/4 elemental. Fool's Demise, 4 and a blue. Enchant creature. When an enchanted creature dies, return that card to the battlefield under your control. When Fool's Demise is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, return Fool's Demise to its owner's hand. That's cool. Yeah, that's neat. Pongify, 1 blue for an instant, destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated. Its controller puts a 3/3 green ape creature token onto the battlefield. That's where those apes are from. Into the Royal, 1 and a blue. Kicker for 1 and a blue. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If Into the Royal was kicked, draw a card. Turn to Frog, 1 and a blue. Until end of turn, target creature loses all abilities and becomes a blue frog with base power and toughness 1/1. Exclude, 2 and a blue. Counter target creature spell, draw a card. Dismiss, 2 and 2 blue. Counter target spell, draw a card. Call to Mind, 2 and a blue. Return target instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. Compulsive Research, 2 and a blue. Target player draws 3 cards, then that player discards 2 cards unless he or she discards a land card. Concentrate, 2 and 2 blue. Draw 3 cards. Rush of Knowledge, 4 and a blue. Draw cards equal to the highest converted mana cost among permanents you control. Artisan of Kozilek, 9 mana for an Eldrazi. When you cast Artisan of Kozilek, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's 10/9 and it has Annihilator 2, which means that whenever it attacks, defending player sacrifices 2 permanents. Did not see that coming. And there's an Eldrazi in this deck too. But it goes with the theme of this deck, which, if you haven't noticed already, is about roping your opponent, gaining tempo, and then playing humongous threats like that, and like Krakens and stuff like that. Everflowing Chalice is 0 cost. Multi-kicker 2, Everflowing Chalice enters the battlefield with a charge counter on it for each time it was kicked. Tap to add 1 to your mana pool for each charge counter on Everflowing Chalice. Tormod's Crypt is 0 cost. Tap, sack it, exile all cards from target player's graveyard. Sol Ring, 1 for an artifact that taps for 2. Mind Stone, 2 mana. Tap, add 1 to your mana pool. 1 and tap and sack it, draw a card. Sky Diamond, 2 mana. Sky Diamond enters the battlefield tapped, and tap to add a blue to your mana pool. So these are like, they're like wimpy mocks. Swiftfoot Boots, 2. Equipped creature has hexproof and haste, and equipped for 1. Commander's Sphere, 3. Tap to add to your mana pool 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Sack it to draw a card. Unstable Obelisk, 3. Tap to add 1 to your mana pool. 7 and tap and sack it. Destroy target permanent. Worn Power Stone, 3. For an artifact, when Worn Power Stone enters the battlefield, tapped. Sorry, I read that as when. Worn Power Stone enters the battlefield, tapped. Tap it to add 2 to your mana pool. Assault. Oh, there's another Assault Suit. This was in the white deck too. Equipped creature gets +2/+2, has haste, can't attack you or planeswalker you control, and can't be sacrificed. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, you may have that creature gain control of equipped creature until end of turn. If you do, untap it, and you equip it for 3. Thran Dynamo, 4 colorless, tap it to add 3 to your mana pool. Golem's Eye, tap to add 2 to your mana pool. And Dreamstone Hedron, 6 mana, tap to add 3 to your mana pool. 3, tap and sack it, and to draw 3 cards. Whew, man, I'm gonna need a drink after that. I mean, like some water, that is. that was a lot. But as you can see, this is a very control-y blue deck that's about roping your opponent and getting at humongous threats. Hope you enjoyed that video. Stay tuned for our next commander opening in just a little bit. Take care. Bye-bye.